Welcome. My guest Terrence Clark is here on the Make It, Keep It, and Invest It podcast. And Terrence, I'd love to kick off every episode with two things that I appreciate and respect and admire about the way you think and operate. And the things that they just popped into my head like really quick for you. And so the first thing is how you reinvest your influence into other people. So I watch a lot of successful people where all they do is they just keep taking their influence and just using it for their own personal growth. And you're out here reinvesting into your community, into other agents and operators. So, really admire that about you. And then on the other side, I look at this very transactional kind of cold, kind of cut to the point iBuyer model that we both know. And you have taken that and you've put structure and education and community around it. So just really, really, I appreciate those things about you. Thank you for them and thank you for being here today.
No, thank you for those kind words, and I don't take those things lightly, especially the reinvesting. Your gifts, right? We all
Mhm.
have them. And I think the best way to use them is not necessarily for yourself. I feel like I get more out of it when I take my gifts and help other people. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, definitely. So, are you ready for question number one?
Question
Okay.
number one.
Question number one, Terrence. So, okay, when you think back, when you look back at the man Terrence was before you made it to who you are today, what allowed you to make it here? And so it's kind of thinking about what behaviors and decisions created your momentum before anything looked obvious, right? So it was like, what are those daily habits and things that you were doing that let you know you were on track to make it where you are today?
So I would say for me, it's going to come down to like my support group and the people who I've been surrounded with and the people I continue to put into my circle. But I am I don't know, a third immigrant, a third generation investor. My mom is from, her family's from Jamaica. She was born in London. My dad's from Pittsburgh, hardworking family, and so they just really instilled a lot of those values into us in terms of just making sure you put your best foot forward, understanding that sometimes you're going to be the representation of a lot of people, even though you don't ask to be that. So it's always just wanting to make sure that you're again putting your best foot forward and keeping that in mind. And then I'm also a sibling, right? I'm the oldest of four, and so it's another thing that my dad definitely prepared me with him being the baby. He wanted to make sure that I always kind of think two, three steps ahead because I know that there are people that are following behind me. Not because I went out and found them, but because my dad said, "Hey, this is your role, this is your responsibility to make sure that your siblings get to where they need to go." So I would say those are the things that really make sure that even in the day to day in a professional setting, that I get up and try to do the right things and do them for the right reasons. And I think results come from that.
Okay, so you've had it's come from a strong family, and you're the leader, obviously, of all the four siblings. So, what was there anything in particular that your parents like said to you, or was there like a line that they instilled in you that just got you to like really? Because that's pressure, and you have to want that responsibility to lead, and you do it so well.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that there's a line or anything like that, but my parents come from two very different worlds. My mom coming as an immigrant here, her family, my grandfather was a electrician, a carpenter. He did all the trades. My
Hmm.
grandmother was a nurse's assistant, and they were actually the side that started in real estate investing. So what we kind of took from that is you have everything you need to do whatever it is that you want. You already possess those things, right? And a lot of times it's just a matter of focusing and taking this little steps day by day to get to where you want to go. And so I definitely think I lean on that a lot. And then from my father, it more so was not so much of a choice, right? It wasn't, hey, do the right things because I'm asking you to do that. It's you do the right things or there's consequences when you don't. And so I grew up in a household where, like the TV type of household where the oldest gets in trouble for what the youngest siblings are doing, right? And so I had to learn how to communicate with my siblings, not necessarily in a way to be there their best friend at times, right? I had to sometimes be the person who was saying, "Hey, this is how it's going to go because there's implications for me if we don't do this the right way." So,
Yeah.
thankfully, now I would say, as a child, of course, we argued like regular siblings, but as adults, we never argue. My family, I think, is so much like a TV family. It's so weird that there's like a lot of love there. Everybody kind of knows who each person is, and we don't try to get too much outside of ourselves. And I again try to take that same mentality into the professional world. I really do love a chance to get to know people, love to understand what drives them, to what drives their decision making. Right? If we can kind of put the why, put the rhyme to the reason, it makes it a lot easier to make some of the decisions that are sometimes difficult.
Yeah, I love that. So give me, you mentioned just small daily actions. Do you have some examples you can share about you today, even what you do? Like, are there just things that anchor your day that help you kind of move life and business forward?
So the first thing for me is definitely taking time for myself and making sure that I can show up for everyone else for all the things that I have going on because I've taken the hour that I need in the morning. Sometimes too, I say Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are my activity days where I get a chance to play basketball a couple times a week, and that's just a healthy reset for me to be able to go into the workday. But then after that, as far as like business tasks, I really try to prioritize what are the highest impact tasks that I can knock out while I have the most amount of energy so that as the energy starts to fade, I'm on to like lower priority tasks that don't take as much. So I would just say prioritizing the task and figuring out where the impact is going to come.
Yeah, I love this. Great advice. Thank you for sharing that. So
Yeah, no problem.
you kind of you mentioned having eyeballs on you, right? So the next question is when you're at a point where you have created success and influence and a strong business. So, what did you have to change or stop doing in order to keep what you've built, the success? And it's like once there's that more kind of pressure and eyeballs on you, like how do you keep what you worked so hard and earned?
So for me, it's understanding that it's not just for me, right? So I talked about being a family-oriented person. I have two kids, and so that is like the main thing, the main driver. Because if I don't continue to do, if I don't continue to build and put myself in position to be there for them, then I won't be. And I don't want to be someone who has worked, and maintained, right? You're able to maintain, you're able to build, but I don't want to be someone that's always in the building stage. And so it's so important for me to wake up every day and make good decisions that allows me, in the future to step back and really be who my family needs me to be. I'd say I'm blessed right now. I have an opportunity to go out, hang out with my son. I pick him up from school. We have an opportunity. I coach his little league basketball team, so it's just all the little things like that. And as he grows, he'll need more of my time. And so that is really what's pushing me to make the right decisions to really grow and build outside of my day to day.
I like that's a big why. I love that. So, I am a real estate coach, and in every agent's career, there is this point when their personal effort stops scaling, right? We just kind of talked a little bit about that. So, personal effort stops scaling. They've got to leverage through people. And my observation, it's the hardest transition, right? To go from personal effort to learning to leverage through people. And so everybody knows you're great at underwriting real estate investment deals. So my question for you is how do you underwrite people when you're building an organization?
That's been, I'd say, it's a shared challenge here, especially kind of manning two different operations. And on the family, like business side, for us, it always goes back to the goals and understanding who you're working with, what their goals are, and why they want to achieve them. Because then you can again make the actions tied to their goals. So I have a examples like a cousin of mine who also works in our business. He wanted to he wants to open up his own like lounge area, right? And it's like, hey, well, if you want to do that, well, first we have to get you here. In order to get you to this point, these are the things that you must complete in order to do that. So we've kind of given him a roadmap, to say, hey, these are the things, these are the checkoffs. And once you check these things off, we can now help you get to the goal that you set. And then on the corporate side in express offers and EXP, it's been a challenge because everyone's kind of dealing and communicating at their own pace and speed and in their own way. So it's hard to like make that programmatic and make it something that we can turn into a system. But again, it does come back to the goals. I'd say most of the agents that I deal with on the corporate side, they all want to build a business that they're not having to chase the next opportunity. It's more so, hey, these are the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, and the pipeline is always full. And so that's one of the things about your coaching program I'm just in love with, because I think you have done a great job of making it so the system makes perfect sense for those who are in it. Every action actually has meaning behind it, so it makes it easy for them to do that. And I would say we're still learning and figuring that out on our side.
I mean, I'm about 2 decades deep at this point, still figuring it out. So I'm with you though. It's like the identity work and the structure and the systems and letting the system kind of corral the people, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah,
It's
and it's people, and I enjoy people too. So the challenge of it is also another thing that wakes me up, knowing that I don't have it figured out. To know that I can wake up and I'm going to learn something new that day. I'm going to deal with someone who I've never dealt with before, and they're going to be a whole new person I have to learn, whole new goals and things that we're going to have to talk through. So that part of it is really fun.
yeah. So are there like any qualities you can kind of identify in a person when you're thinking about bringing them into any of you? And I love how you said with the cousin that wanted to open up the shop is, yeah, the yes and that's kind of like I hear you, like, yes, and if you do XYZ, no problem, but if you don't, you failed the
Right.
system. Not, and I love that because I'm like, it removes the kind of that personal charge on it. So they're just like some qualities or anything you've noticed in people.
The qualities I would say like that I see, like especially the people who are like executors, is it's always bigger than them. It's never they're doing it because it's something that is solely driving them. They always have a great why. Something else is driving them way beyond. Hey, I want to do this, or maybe they're comparing themselves to other agents or other people in the market. It's usually those people that have something that is really driving them. That when it gets hard, they're going to be able to jump back up and say, "Hey, I'm not quitting because of this thing." So that's just, I would say, the main thing. Other than that. I like, it's hard to say. I like people, I like to deal in chaos a little bit. I think I deal really well in chaos, but I think structure is also something that when I do find someone who is really structured and organized, it sometimes takes them a little bit longer to get started. But then once they're started, that person's usually, I mean, they're usually unstoppable because they put everything down on paper, their roadmap, everything they need to actually follow the steps to get to where they want to go. But they also deal with like analysis paralysis, like all of us, right? They get in these spots where they have to know everything, and to that point, I would say that's another characteristic, is the person that's not scared to learn through failure or learn through taking actions, right? You person that wants to get up and go back to the drawing board to say, hey, this didn't work. I've tried this 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm failing short here, so let me tweak and go back. So I think that's another strong quality in people who are successful.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting too to learn to have to work with all the different personality types and give them the space and grace to be who they are and contribute to the team. So I like that. I like that you see that. And then what? Okay, we've all made bad hires, right? So you've done your best to underwrite these people, put up the system. What do you do when you've got to remove someone from your organization?
Oh man, that one is. I think it was tough the first couple of times, but I think now it's not so tough because it's bigger than me, and so I can't allow this person to pull it all down. We had to let go of some contractors who, we worked with them for years, but it's just like I think COVID like really changed a lot of things. Like I think they got really comfortable, and we just noticed kind of differences in the quality of work and the pricing, and so it just was one of those things. No bad blood, but this is no longer serving both of us. I think you'd be best kind of going your separate ways, and kind of leave it at that. I just try to keep things, keep lines of communication open, but you can't let one person pull down the ship. And if it's important the way that, at least it is for me, it's gotten easier to, cut that bad limb off so that we all can continue to move forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of, it's the inevitable piece of entrepreneurship, right? One of my mentors, he would always tell me business is great if it weren't for all the people. That was his funny little joke the whole time. And I'm like, I get it. So, okay, when I say make it, keep it invested as just like an ecosystem, just tell me what kind of comes to mind when you kind of apply that overlay to your business and life.
I think it brings up one of my favorite phrases in vertical integration. And so, I worked in the car business for almost a decade, and they were some of the that was one of my first examples of what vertical integration looked like, where you could be your own customer, right? You're never having to rely on the market because you're your customer. And so that's one thing that we do, right? We started off in commercial multifamily, and so we got to a point where we're like, hey, the way that we underwrite the deals, the way we underwrite the tenants, you're vetting the tenants. Why don't we have a offering for our tenants, understanding that most of them were moving not because of bad service or anything like that, but they needed larger spaces, right? They needed to get out of a 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse into a home. So for us, it's like, okay, well, we need to have an offering there. One, because we can serve those people, but two, we already know all of the insights. We know that they're already qualified to buy. We have the network and everything, so it's almost like a disservice if we're not doing that. And so
Right.
that's what I think about when you share your title with me, is that vertical integration and how you can do that to really scale your companies and almost make them, for lack of better words, like pandemic proof.
Yeah. I think we all learned that one through the
Yeah.
2020 hard knocks. Yeah. I love that. Thank you. So I know you're always working on really cool and exciting projects, and every time we chat, it's just interesting. So what are you working on right now? What do you want to share with people? Point them towards?
Right now, we are working on we are getting ready to list our latest single family house that we completed through Limitless Levy, is a nonprofit organization that we created to run our fix and flips through. I'd say we are what I would define as like impact investors. Is when we especially a single family house, like we're not here to, yeah, you have to make a profit to continue to do the business, but we are really set out that organization up to really help the first time home buyers. And so that's really what our focus is on that side, is getting getting this house to a first time home buyer and then acquiring the next house to be able to turn that house into a home for a first time home buyer. And then in the other side of my world, we are launching a new express offers platform that really I'd say is geared to being a decision making support system as opposed to a cash offer platform, right? We really want agents to bring this to their clients as a way to help them have all the information to make an informed decision, not necessarily to say, hey, the cash offer is what you need to take, or position, not propping it up. It's more so, hey, here are all your options side by side. Which one of these journeys works best for you and your goals? So that's the big project on the corporate side. I love both of them because I don't have to switch much. It's just, hey, I'm either calling agents for this or I'm calling agents for another property. So and either which way, I'm calling and talking to a lot of agents.
It's impossible to get bored in real estate. There's so much to do. So for people that don't know what exactly impact investing is, can you just give a definition of that?
I would describe that as someone who's not prioritizing profit. Yeah, profit is definitely a part of the equation, but the impact is more of what you're looking for. And so uh, I can only probably give an example of what it is like when we do it, but we're always looking to see how we can impact the neighborhood. How can we better the community with this project that we're taking on? So one of the projects that we had, I guess, in the last 5 years was a commercial, a little longer than 5 years actually, commercial multifamily that it had a daycare center on site. So we said, hey, you know what? This would be a great opportunity to impact the community. Education in school does wonders to a community. I've grew up in a small town called Middletown, Delaware, where I watched the entire state flock to this small town because of the school. So being a place where I'm raising my children, I thought having and being a part of education would also make a strong impact. So we look for opportunities when we do invest in real estate to also figure out how we can best impact the community, not necessarily always looking at the bottom line.
Yep. Well, that's now everybody knows why coming up with the very first thing I respect and admire about you is so easy. It's the reinvesting the influence and into the community. Okay, so that's the impact side. So on the corporate side with the iBuyer model, what do you see coming in? So we're 2026, do you care to do some crystal ball work for me on what you think that will be?
So, I mean, right now I'm seeing a lot of, like, for example, one of the largest buyers in the country has added a new offering where it's these bridge loan model acquisitions where they're essentially paying the seller top dollar, creating their margin in the fee that they charge, and then also allowing the seller to see any upside in the market. I think that's a pretty strong way to go about it, because I think there is a good amount of sellers out there that would sacrifice some of their equity for that type of convenience. And so I think there's great opportunity there. I think also the small local investors are still driving the market. So lots of narrative around an iBuyer, institutional buyers, but your small local investors, those are the ones who we really need to be making the relationships with. Those are the people that you're going to find that do impact invest, that would be willing to pay a little bit more if it means that they're going to have a greater impact in the community versus the bottom line. But any agent that's out there that's working in this space, I would just say continue to make those relationships and get really specific on who you are reaching out to from a seller perspective, right? So we saw here where rates jumped up. The buyers, kind of traditional buyers anyway, kind of sat on the sideline, and then we saw a lot of those houses that were listed for sale go and be listed as rentals. And so I'm just one to think that if that house wasn't underwritten to be a rental to begin with, almost from day one, those are going to be motivated sellers in the future. I laugh and joke all the time, but if you called me on the right day at the right time, I'd be willing to sell a lot. And so, and this is someone who, this is like my business, right? This is like what I do. And if people who were looking for an opportunity or didn't want to adjust to the market that decided to be landlords, I think we're going to see a lot of those come down the pipe as people who are motivated. And then the foreclosure filings are also ticking up across the country. So, but I'd like to take the time to share that for us agents, that doesn't mean run to the banks to go and line yourself up for REO asset opportunities. I think this is a great opportunity to reach out to sellers, get educated and understanding what the strategies they have to actually stay in the home, right? Have they called their bank? Have they talked about forbearance, loan modifications, everything that you can find under the sun, and offer those as solutions to make sure that they can try to get the win that they want. And if they aren't able to get that win, I think the agents will find themselves in a great position to win that relationship and win that listing when the seller does decide to sell.
No. Yeah, so we've seen a lot of accidental landlords. That's such a great way to phrase it that have popped up over these last few years. So, when you think, okay, so real estate agents, they tend to either do investor work or do general brokerage with buyer and sellers. How do you kind of, with what you work on the corporate side with the iBuyer and express offers, how do you suggest the general brokerage folks kind of walk that bridge a little bit over to or how should they use it as a tool?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's one of the things we really focused on messaging wise in terms of how we're changing express offers. I think really for those traditional agents, I think you're going to have to take a hybrid approach, right? I think the cash offer messaging is so strong, you almost are shooting yourself in the foot if you're not showing up to the door with options.
Hmm.
And so we want you to show up to the door with these sellers with every option so that it no longer becomes, are you the right agent? It's more so, hey, you're the right agent because you brought me the options. Now I just have to choose which strategy I want to take to sell my house. And I also think that these offers, yeah, we're not going to push the offers on a seller, but I will say that these buyers, whether they're institutional, iBuyers, large acquisition teams, their underwriting tells you a lot about what the house is actually worth in the retail side, right? And I think it helps to remove some of the, well, the comps say this and the comps say that. And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, stuff sells and those are probably good data points, but I like to look at the income. And I think that that's one thing that the institutional buyers do well is they take the income approach to, hey, what can the people in this area actually afford when it comes to making, setting rent prices or acquisition prices. They're really looking at that end user and what they can actually afford. So I think for a traditional agent, understanding those underwriting models so that you can come in and really speak intelligently to a seller is really just going to position you to build a stronger listing pipeline. And you'll also have a listing pipeline of sellers that truly understand what their house is worth and price it right from the very beginning. I
Yeah.
think all too often we see sellers that want to test the market and then they're upset with the agent when the house doesn't sell in the time that they needed it to sell in.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolute no brainer that when you walk into listing appointments or working with sellers, you've got a cash offer. So I think any agents that don't do that, you are so far behind because you look at there's entire real estate firms based around this kind of we'll buy your house for cash model,
Oh, yeah.
and so you have to know the lay of the land. And I love what you do and provide as a service because you can easily now go walk into any seller, any listing appointment and have your cash offers lined up. And that's to me, that's a minimum standard. Like step one, you hire me as the agent and here's a cash offer, take it or don't, but at least we've put a floor on things. So
For sure. No,
yeah,
that's so
I per-
important.
so do you have where can people follow your work, support you? Where do you want to point them
I
to?
would
IG,
say
IG, LinkedIn.
I would say LinkedIn. I try to cross post, but LinkedIn is definitely one of my favorite platforms because it keeps a lot of the noise out. I also write articles on LinkedIn from time to time when
Awesome.
I do get some time to just pour some thoughts in via words. So LinkedIn's my favorite. You can find me just at Terrence Clark there, and hopefully my picture on there looks similar to the video, so I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, you're not one of those the agents that has the headshot from 1982. So it definitely looks like you on there. So well, thank you, Terrence, so much for this conversation. As always, I really appreciate how you think and you just pour in so much value to our real estate community, and I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me so much. I'll be looking forward to collaborate with you in person soon. I know we're not far from each other, so
Yeah, we
we'll
got to
make it
do it.
happen.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Terrence.
All right. See ya.